Hi, Jerry. Tell us your name and the kind of job you've held in your life.
The name is Jerry Scully. The jobs I've held in my life basically have to do with people in service and helping, at times even saving their lives. So I've been very fortunate. Uh, Started very young doing that, and that's just continued.
So you've never veered from that. When you were very young, you knew that you wanted to help others. And
We were
how did you get
very in
started?
the family. We were a family, which meant helping each other, period. And coming from the background in the large family, we helped each other a lot, no matter what. There was never a time when it was an either or. It was always when you were going to do it and how far you could go. And I'm very blessed with that. That came from my family. It came from my religious upbringing, Chris, because we're very grounded in church, and the church was very grounded in service. So, with that, you have somebody who had church background, people background, and I think a lot of dedication. And that isn't to be phony as much as it is to be, that's who we were.
Yeah, very good. So, what was your first job? Did you go on after high school to further education, or what did you do with your life from the
Well,
beginning?
I started off very young uh, as a seminarian, okay,
Okay.
for a missionary organization. And the missionary organization I was with, I studied in the late 50s and 60s. And actually, the focus of that organization was South America as well as Africa. Things
Okay.
right now that Rotary's looking at, in fact.
Yeah.
Uh, what happened is because of some personal health problems, I had to change and get out of the foreign country business into the uh, local diocesan. So I became a Catholic priest and dedicated myself to whatever the assignments were that were given me, and they were multiple.
So the education involved in that would have been seminary. You finished high school and you went straight to seminary, or did you
Oh
go?
yeah, I went to the seminary when I was in high school.
Okay.
I've been very blessed with education in terms of degrees. Okay, probably more than I should have. Uh, when somebody looks at my resume, they wondered, when did you do anything else except go to school? Well, I did that education because I realized that there was no end to learning about people and doing something. So you'll see the usual philosophy, maybe the only guy in America with existential philosophy degrees. Okay. Theology, business. I went on, and I have a couple, let's just say a couple unfinished degrees because I got interested in other things and didn't think that getting a degree was important. But it
Mhm.
was important to me because it involved um, youth problems, issues that had to do with helping people who are at extreme ends. And with that, that's where I dedicated my life. And then sometime in my mid 30s, I decided that uh, my uh, my mission in life, per God, after prayer, etc., was to be outside the priesthood and work within the church, but doing the same kind of business. So I was very fortunate in then taking up and getting positions that had that orientation. Places like Goodwill Industries. Um, and I was very fortunate enough to uh, right away become director, okay, the executive. And I decided after being line staff that I could do better if I was the boss. So from then on, my career as the boss. Okay. And with that, I was able to get resources and direct various movements. And that's pretty much uh, how I developed and took opportunities, Chris, that were presented to me to act. So that's the educational background. I applied the things that I learned in a lot of different forums and applied it to whatever discipline I was in. It could be handicapped. Uh, I taught the hearing, I taught the blind, emotionally developed. That's the disabilities. I ran the largest disability place in the county, while in Cuyahoga County, um, and I found that the skills that I had matched, and which was very good because I was happy doing it.
Right,
Poor,
right.
poor but happy. Anybody reading this
Ah,
video should know if you choose this kind of walk of life, uh, either marry a wealthy woman or just decide I'm serious, not being serious. Uh, to know that the nonprofit world, the human world of uh, grants and foundations, give and take. As you see publicity now, they can be yanked very quickly if somebody does not have a priority. So at the very same time that I did this, I was also an advocate, uh, and sometimes a very loud advocate because you have to be. Who screams at help for some of the disabilities? I can remember, and I'm sure uh, people in Rotary remember when drugs and alcohol was nothing. Why would you talk about drugs? Okay. And I was expounding on it, saying it's coming and watch out, parents, etc. And wham, when it hit, people came up and said, "Oh, why didn't we listen?" Well, it was always someplace else, just like people's problems are someplace else, or lack of education was someplace else. And it really isn't. Now, now it is in foreign lands, but in America, it's in Ohio, hunger, things like that. So that's pretty much my background in place, and I've been blessed by being at a number of different opportunities. Like I say, uh, I started at Goodwill. Uh, I had one small job before that. It was with the Cleveland Department of Health. It was a diversion program that kind of got my interest. We kept young kids who had failed the first time out of jail, and we listened to them, uh, listened if they had a case, went to the judge and see if they didn't have to go to jail. But young people, I meant early 20s, mid 20s, and it's amazing how many people we diverted, but it's always surprising how many people we didn't because there was relapses, and that's when I think it hit people like, wow, these drugs are strong. Okay, and just read the newspaper, they've overtaken uh, really the whole world in a lot of ways. So
now,
then I
Jerry,
went to Goodwill and was fortunate then to work with various disciplines. Um, I was asked if I would take my skills and get different places certified, which meant that they could get paid insurance. Okay. If you
right.
go to a hospital, you see on the wall where Joint Commission accreditation uh, approved, which means that we maintain all the standards. So I became a standards person for a number of years, making sure that the various places that I worked maintained standards and then got certified, which then lifted up the places that I worked to another level, meaning that they weren't at a level doing good work, but they still didn't have the opportunity um, to go to places and ask for serious money because people then ask like, who do you have working for you? What's
So, Jerry, at one point you said that you made the decision to be a boss.
yeah.
That's a big transition in a career path. So, when you get to that point, how do you know if you're right to be in a boss position. Your hands aren't necessarily in the everyday service, but you have all of these administrative responsibilities like getting the paperwork and establishing levels more advanced so that the you can better the organization. But how do you know if you're cut out to be a boss, and how do you prepare to make that sort of transition?
Well, I was very lucky because on my own I raised my hand in class and wasn't afraid to ask questions. Was not afraid to challenge. I was a they used to kid me that the last person in school you wanted to have a question from was me because I came to the heart of the thing.
Yeah.
And even I can remember one time at a university, the argument with one of our department heads. He said, "We got to take this to the cafeteria." So everyone comes to the cafeteria, okay, literally. And there we are talking about something that is not his opinion, but I'm challenging it. It's his opinion, but not mine. And he says, "Thank you." And it's stuff like that that I always did, not to be argumentative, but to get to the truth through a real process. How did I find out? Well, I was kind of like in school, the captain of the basketball team, the captain of the football team. When I got to high school, I was the captain of the football team. You know, because I had the skills to do it and wasn't afraid to take the hit and wasn't afraid to take the losses. See, that's the other side about being a boss. You got to be able to say, I can make that decision and then take the heat, no matter what it is. Nobody ever lost a game. I lost it. I didn't win the game, they won it. That's what a leader is. Okay, to make sure that everyone gets the glory, but you gets the reward. And I was very, very confident in myself that the mistakes that I made, I built on. And that leadership came out because as I was offered different kind of roles, especially as a spokesman role, to serve as a spokesman, you're talking for a whole lot of people, a whole lot of different people. In fact, while I was working at one place, I complained about the education where we were living, and my wife says, "Quit complaining, run for the board." And she walks out the room, "I'm going to run for the board." I ran for the board and I won. Okay, I said, "Oh my God, I won." Okay, I come to the first meeting, they elect me president. Okay, why? The place was in a sad, sad state. And they said, "We hear that you're a change agent." I said, "Oh, thanks." So I became a board president. That's when you realize that, boy, you have a lot of responsibility there, that you're dealing with a team, but you're also dealing with a lot of lives. And so it was positions like that I took or was voted into. Somehow I couldn't get out of that position. When you do a good job, people don't want to like that. You can do that. You can do that. And I was very fortunate because education was always a big mark with me. And so were libraries. Okay. In fact, I challenged one of the workers by way. I said, "If you can find where my name is and on a building in this city, I'll take you out to lunch in the fanciest place." She never found it.
Oh,
Okay. I've
was it
never
there
told anybody
actually?
where it is. I challenge you, if you come to the community and you see my name highly placed on a building, I'll take you out to lunch. It was an interest that no one knew I had. And I volunteered for it. By God, if you didn't, I was part of the building of the place. Okay. That's how you do it. You
Yeah.
volunteer, then you commit yourself. And the other side of it as a leader is you don't quit because you don't always get your way. you aren't always number one. And maybe you shouldn't be, because maybe you should be number five because you aren't up to the standards that you should be. And that's a good leader. So I tried being as humble about it, but as realistic. The other thing that I decided to do, because I volunteered, because they asked me to, they said, why don't you go, why don't you write for the newspaper? I said, I'm not a journalist. You can do anything. Why don't you write a column? So I said, I'll try this. So I wrote a weekly column for the newspaper. And I did this for years. It was op-ed, my opinion. Okay, I had 8 inches and I could say what I want. The rule was if I printed it, if I wrote it, they printed it. Okay. And we got on real good. And it was a human service. It was community service, not argumentative, but very straightforward. And it's amazing how many people read the editorial page at that time. Anyhow,
Yeah, right.
I don't know how it is now with so many sources of information. So I did that for a number of years, and then I was asked to do radio programs. I said I don't do it. So they said you can do a talk show and do interviews. So I did that for a number of years and was very grateful. I interviewed everybody from every walk of life, and it was amazing how many people even would listen. I never thought anybody would listen. Who's going to listen to you on the radio?
I can listen to you all day. So cute. I think you're fantastic.
Yeah, and there it was, but and it's not that I had any brains or any special quality of anything. It was that, I took what people were saying and fed it back to them, like I'm doing to you. And pretty much you get out of somebody what you want out of them. Okay. Like I'm doing to you. We're interviewing each other. That's how people are when you're in dialogue. That's how you negotiate.
That's true.
That's how I negotiated union contracts with the school system. It's like, I never want to do that again. But it's like, you got to hear that other side.
Right.
Hey, and be ready for success. Be ready for not getting it all. That's how we move forward. That's how we move forward. That's why I like Rotary and why I like the humanity in Rotary, that they took that to a very basic level of what does this community need? What's the big problem in the area? Nationally, we weren't afraid to take on polio. Who takes on polio?
Right.
My God, that's like heavens. And other things that we're doing. And that's how I look at it. You take the challenge, do what you have to, get partners. Okay.
And listen, you're very good at the young people. I think you're so right. We can learn so much from our mistakes or from the negative and apply that so that you can take the next step and stay positive. You have so much to offer in so many ways. We haven't even touched on your career.
The wonderful thing that happens is, and it's not just me, but I was always kidded. You get so many people to follow you. You get so many people to do things for you. How does that happen? I said, people are believers. All you got to do is know how to tap them. You just got to find that spot. I have found that people are so busy that they sometimes forget what they really have in them for things like helping people, like making a difference. And wow, once that gets turned on, you really got to volunteer. You really got somebody who cares about what they're doing, and they do it for a long time. I have people now that I had them start doing volunteer. They're doing it now 20 years later. Why? They found themselves. they never realize that I can do that. So you turn,
Very. So if someone sees this video and they feel so excited about the things, the encouragement that you've already given, but if they want to reach out to you through our website and connect about one of the many things that you've successfully done in your life, would you be willing to communicate with them and
oh,
give them some encouragement?
I'd be glad to share. I do as much as I can locally with the kids, etc. The thing is, the only challenge is, I stand on truth, and I ask, okay, who are you?
Yes.
I look at, I don't look at the extraneous. You know, we all have things about us that are nice, but I say, who are you? Let's get down to the core and get at it, because your life is more important than all this stuff around you. You can be a dead serious. I'm as serious as I can be, but at the same time, uh, you got to have a sense about yourself, and it's got to be a good sense. And when you do that, you're happy, and that's what I
Thank
want people to be happy.
Thank you so much. I
There
think
you go.
anyone who reaches out to you will be happy because you have so much
I'm
to
glad
offer.
we made connection after all this time. See, I
Thank you.
really exist.
Thank you so much. It was fun.
Thank you very much. And I'm available. Anybody can do what they want to do. It's in their heart. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.